Cool. All right, guys, if you're just popping in again, feel free to say hello to us. Don't be bashful. That's not going to hurt to say hi. And grab a notepad and a piece of paper or just anything that you want to take notes on. This is a full-on training. We have been doing this training for a few months now. Keep tweaking it a little bit. And consistently, the feedback we got on this is that it's absolutely sensational and is just chock full of value. So our intention is that you walk away feeling super, super good with the time that you invest here with us, that you get a really good sense of who we are, what we're about, the type of work that we do in the world, how it is that we work with people. And really just what I would offer you is to pick an area of life. So let me actually just pop this poll in here because we're using a brand new webinar software that we've never used before. So you can write this down for yourself too, but this is for us to know what's in the room today. So you should see a poll right now on the right-hand side of your screen. And this is the areas of life that most people want to have breakthroughs in. So if you could go there and just pick your choice, that way, again, we kind of have an idea of what's in the room that helps us kind of speak to you versus at you. So I'll leave that up there for a little while people are popping in here. And what I would recommend is that you do grab that piece of paper and a pen or whatever it is you're writing on, some device. And just at the top, write the area of life that I want to break through in is, and it could be any of these or anything that kind of resonates with you. Okay. We've got a few of you guys pop in your answers over there as well. Cool, cool. All right, so we'll probably wait like one more minute or so here, and then we'll get started. Just see people still piling in here.
Bro, I'm going to shut down Skype.
Yeah, I would too. I'll do the same actually on my end.
Yeah, you can pick more than one for sure. It's just super important that you actually have one in mind.
Yeah, so everything that we go through today, you're going to want to look through this filter, right? Because so like every area of life, it's got its own filter. You have certain beliefs about it, certain things that drive you, that motivate you, that inspire you in this area of life. And a lot of, we're going to be looking at and investigating your belief systems, your programming, right? And we're going to look at what's working, what's not working, how you guys can upgrade it. So I'll just do a quick little intro here while Elon's getting set up. We're here not because there's anything wrong in your life, right? Everybody's life is just going how everybody's life is going. You might have a perception that there's something wrong. We're not really here to talk about what's wrong. We're here about, hey, how do we look at these different areas of life? And how do we upgrade the programming the same way you would upgrade like a phone's programming so that it's effectively creating the results that you want in your life? What we find is that most people have little to no education about the way that the brain works or biology works in the body. And oftentimes what they're doing and how they're being is actually going in direct contrast against the way that the programming actually works. So a lot of this training is to start giving you the access and empowering you to work in alignment with your natural states, right? So a lot of our beliefs take us away from our natural states. A lot of what schools taught you, a lot of what you picked up from your parents and society actually takes you away from your natural state of being. So we're here to make you aware of certain things that are going to give you easy access to those states of being in such a way that you can effectively go and actually start implementing these things literally the moment you get off this webinar to start making a difference in the areas of life that matter most. A lot of them which are spelled out there on the right-hand side, again, like health and fitness, finances, relationships and love, sex, obviously, could be communication, business, really anything, again, that's important to you, important to people. So that's what we're here for. If this is your first time here, like first time you've ever seen these two guys, if you can just put that in the chat box, like, yeah, it's my first time with you guys. That's cool because, hi. We don't have any name badges here, but I'm Guy. On the opposite side is Elon. And we're brothers. So if we look somewhat alike and sound alike, there's an actual biological reason for that. And not like brothers in the way that, mean it with a friend, like legitimately blood brothers. And we started a personal development journey 15 years ago. And it completely revolutionized and evolved the way that we lived with great velocity. Today, we get to work with people all over the world. We get to travel all over the world. And we've coached about roughly, we estimate around 10,000 people. It's tough to say because we're exposed to so many people. And we've been coaching for well over 10 years. I want to say probably closer to 12 at this point in time. And we have a really wide array of knowledge from neuroscience to spiritual practices, meditation, even plant medicine work in South America, stuff like that. And that's what we do. We travel all over the world looking for experiences that expand your ability to be and not get out, but like work in conjunction with healing old programming that's no longer serving you. And how is it that we reprogram on demand yourself so that you start getting naturally pulled towards the life that you want versus like trying to make it happen and push towards it. So we're going to talk a lot about those things today. We'll be here the entire time. This is an actual live broadcast. Hi, we're real people. And Elon's going to be doing a bulk of the presentation, just so it's more effective time-wise that way. He'll kind of give you the structure here in just a minute. While the presentation's on the screen, we're going to just shut down our video so we're not in your bottom right corner moving around and taking away from being present. And that's my request, is that you guys be as present as you possibly can. I would say whatever you get from this, you get from this. Whatever you don't, you don't. That's just kind of how life works. If you spend all your time taking massive amounts of notes, don't worry about it. We'll get you the recording for this and other resource guides that come along with this. So more than anything, be present. What the notebook I would recommend is writing down questions that you have about every particular pillar that we go over. Or about anything we go over here that you want to ask to get clarity on, so that again you're not sitting there remembering your question over and over again, that you write it down and then you're back to being present. Okay, that's the most effective use of your time. So with that said, I will give you guys over to Elon and we'll get cracking.
All right, so let me just try to share this. Something's not showing up, but let me see if this works.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that's the right thing. Okay, hold on.
Oh yeah, with the Windows, it's a little different.
Yeah.
We have a Leilani here. I actually know Leilani too. She's, I think, in Alaska right now. And guys, if you have any questions now, feel free to ask them. There is an echo. Okay. Well, I'm going to shut down my mic anyway.
Yeah, I think it's coming from your end when I'm speaking.
Okay. And I could go get headphones in the meantime while you're getting going.
Well, I just need you to tell me that we are good. Are we seeing the screen? Everything's good?
Yeah, we're great. Okay, and guys, let us know if we have an echo once I click off my microphone.
Let me turn off my camera real quick. And just guys, let me know in the comment box if you can see the slides. Okay, beautiful. All right, so let me just get situated. So this is like a whole new system for us, and for whatever reason, the camera is like all offset for when I'm on it, so I have to like move all the way to the corner. Now I get to move back. All good. All right, cool. So yeah, this is going to be the Have It All presentation. We're going to talk to you guys today about the 5 pillars. And the whole idea, I was just taking a quick look at the poll that guy put out there. Thank you guys, by the way, for answering. Before I get into this, I really would love for you guys to be as interactive with us as possible. So when I ask questions, like I said, this is very much live. So the more you guys interact, the more that lets me know how to interact with you. Guy and I are used to being on stages where we can see people's faces and stuff. Obviously, we can't see your faces. So the more you interact with us, the better. Like I said, today what we're going to show you is how to become a master manifester. We're going to talk about what manifestation is and all that stuff. But ultimately, our goal is, as you saw the banner behind me, is how to create a life where you have it all. And I mean, have it all in every area of life. So what we've done here today is boiled it down to the 5 pillars of manifestation. That's what we're going to reveal to you today. So whether you're looking to enjoy just growth, whether you're looking to enjoy stellar relationships, you want just an epic life, you want to remove anxiety, doubt, fear, things like that. We're going to cover all of that today. And I promise that if you stick with us and then actually implement this into your life will never be the same, even after this training alone. So I hope you guys are excited. I'm super excited. I see Melissa's excited. And I want to just give you kind of like the intentions and outcomes of today's training. So like I said, we're going to share with you guys simple, right? We're not here to try to sound smart. We're here to give you simple, life-changing ideas and tools. By the end of this training, our commitment is that you grasp the following: the 5 simple steps one can take in a moment-by-moment basis to once and for all manifest your dreams. So stop talking about them, actually manifest them. We're going to look at how to upgrade your operating system. Imagine removing old programs, ones that just don't serve you today. Not that there's something wrong with them, just don't serve you and where you want to go today, and actually being able to upgrade those to brand new ones. You're also going to discover how you can eliminate excuses from your life. Now, some of these are conscious, which you know of, and most of them are rather unconscious. These are the things that self-sabotage you. And some of these have been holding you guys back for decades. So we're going to look at that today. You're also going to discover how to create alignment between your subconscious and conscious mind for possibly the first time in your life. Because when you do this, this is what creates that flow state. This is what creates that near effortless ability to create. And lastly, what we're going to cover here is how to ongoingly create new breakthroughs in your life in any area that you choose in half the time. So if that's what we delivered on today, would that get you guys excited? Are you guys ready to go with that? Broski, by the way, little suggestion as we're going through this. I know we can do like polls. So maybe on certain questions, just write down like the question and then we can add it later since we're using this. Awesome. All right, cool. Thank you guys. Thank you. All right. So first and foremost, I see that you guys are really excited and I love that. And I just want to kind of go over who this training is for and who this training is not for. So you don't feel like you came here and you expected one thing and it's not. So we've done this a few times. We've been coaching people for the better part of 15 years. We kind of know who this works for. So here's just kind of a quick bullet points on who this is for. If you're someone that thinks you're a heart-centered human being, these are people that generally want to do good for others. I think it was Ingrid in here who I saw earlier, who's already helping women overcome eating addictions and sugar addictions. So I know you're already one of these people. Now, you may want to cause an impact. You don't know how to do that just yet. That's fine. This will be for you. Also, if you're a growth seeker, so if you're someone that's constantly looking for that next edge, constantly looking for how you can take bigger action, create that epic life, this is absolutely for you. If you have a burning desire to just live a bigger, bolder life, then this is definitely the training for you. And if you desire to experience more freedom, we found that a lot of people, I saw a lot of you guys post, grow your business and grow your finances. I'm assuming that what's underlying all of that is your desire for more freedom, freedom to do what you want, how you want, with who you want, etc. So absolutely for you. And lastly, if you're interested in discovering action steps, simple action steps that will help lead you to passionate, more purpose, and more fulfillment in your life, this is absolutely the training for you. So if these statements, any of them, some of them, whatever resonated with you, if you could just let us know in the comment box, type in like yes, heck yes, woohoo, whatever feels good to you. And that way we will know that you guys are in the right place. And then we're also going to cover who this is not for. All right, so we got a bunch of you.
I'm just making sure you can hear me. Yeah.
You know what's cool about this? I can actually do it and see the chat box, which on the Zoom platform I couldn't do. So
yeah,
it's actually
you can hear me, right?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys. All right, so let's just talk who this training might not be for. Okay, so if you're someone who's looking for a magic pill, someone who thinks that there's like some magic pill solution to fix a current situation, we want to be real straight with you. We don't believe that such a thing even exists. You'll never hear a guy and I promote one. You'll never hear a guy and I talk about it. And our experience, I should say, transformation is something that takes not only clear direction, it takes clear implementation. So what we're going to do obviously here today is give you that direction. It's ultimately up to any human being to do the implementation on what you hear, receive in life, not only on this training. So if you're not someone that's willing to do that, this is absolutely not the training for you. You also might not be ready if you're someone that's satisfied with your current life. What we mean by that is there's no real urgency for you to go through a process to upgrade or seek new paradigms, right? So if you're one of these people, then, congratulations, that's freaking awesome. And again, most likely not for you. Glenn's like, oh, I want the magic pill. Thanks. I love comedy, by the way, guys. You also might not be ready, we found, if you're someone that kind of thrives in a crisis state. These are people that tend to just fly by the seat of their pants, winging it, and then shit hits the fan, and then they like scramble and are like, trying to figure stuff out. Definitely not the kind of training that we offer. And lastly, if you're a person that's closed-minded towards new ideas and beliefs, I can guarantee you this training is not for you. During this type of training, what we like to do is push the envelope of your current way of thinking. We're going to expand your beliefs. We're going to ask you to push past these boundaries. You guys have all seen those memes where it's like, your life is in this circle. Everything you ever wanted is out of this circle. And I know that's uncomfortable for people. Our training really hones in on getting a human being to being comfortable with the uncomfortable, because that's where life is. That's where your growth is. That's where all the magic is. And I think from what I've seen in the comment box, you guys absolutely already know that. So again, if you fit any of these categories, we won't take offense. Now would be a great time to close down this webinar and go do whatever else you would do on a Wednesday evening. So like I said, ultimately what you're about to discover is how to implement simple and profound changes to your mental operating system. These are things that have been programmed in you, as we'll talk about, from a very, very early age. They've given you the life you had. They're not bad. They're not wrong. There's nothing to fix. It's just that our inkling is that people show up to training like this because they're up to a bigger game, and they've realized that the tools that got them to where they are right now aren't necessarily the tools to get them to where they want to go. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So just something that you guys should know about us. If you've followed us, our podcast or anything like that, we talk about this all the time. Our mission on planet Earth, both myself and my brother, is to impact 100 million people's lives by the year 2020. Now, I know that sounds like an audacious, crazy goal, and it is. We've realized that creating a problem bigger, so big in fact, that it almost seems unsolvable, is something that lights you up and gets you out of bed to do things that mere mortals would never do. And it's something that lights us up. It's the reason we invest hundreds of hours putting trainings like these on, spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, marketing these messages out in the world. This really, really matters to us. Okay. So I wanted to read you guys. These are just literally testimonials, not even testimonials. These are messages that we've been receiving over the last few weeks from people going through our programs, specifically a program we're going to talk to you guys here in a little bit. So this is an email. I'll read this to you. This is something that we got from a woman named Laura Flores. And it said the following. It says, I don't even know where to start, but I felt I should share this. From the bottom of my heart, I'm still in tears because I've just had the biggest breakthrough of my life. I always had problems to keep healthy relationships. I would always have the impression that every guy I was involved to, regardless of their intentions, were trying to abuse or use me in some way. And then they would leave me and show up with someone else. And it materialized time and time again. I never knew why I had these fears and feelings and predictions. I thought it was because I thought it was because I didn't think I was pretty or good enough from all the bullying I suffered from when I was young. This is the first time I'm sharing this, and it's the first time I understood what happened. By the way, I got permission from Laura to share this. This trauma has been running my life for the last 14 years. I was 16 when it happened. 3 months ago, I broke up with an amazing guy that I lived with 3 years because now I know I materialized the same situation. I also realized this event made me start avoiding going out where there is a possibility of being around straight drunk men. I would go to gay parties with no worries. My friends and ex-boyfriends used to complain a lot because of that. Think about that. Like, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about that programming does. Now I'm committed to let it go, find true love, and have an epic relationship. What happened doesn't define me. I'm so happy I gave myself the opportunity to enroll in your program. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. So I'm going to read a couple more, and I just really, guys, want you to like put yourself in these positions. These are the kind of things that when you take on this path will open up to you. So this is Kevin Humphrey, who's actually one of our coaches at this point. And he wrote us this just the other day. He said, "Hey, Elon, hi, guy. I love you. You see in me and everyone the ultimate version of them, and you speak to that person. That gift is so perfect. This journey of transformational awakening often to me sounds like a fantasy story, and I'm a main character actually taking part in it. I see the web of connections, the little nudges, the images, the books, the films, all of them pointing loudly, if you have the eyes to see, in a direction, a calling, a way of being. Something about you, amazing man, has my total trust, and I love where it's taken me and taking me. I know that behind me, you both and the universe have my back, and I can actually face it all. I feel like this path is so meant to be, and times, even though I've wondered, the universe has returned me to the right path. That path not always going the soft, smooth route I prefer, yet each time it's meant to be perfect route. To truly surrender to the flow is the ultimate goal, and I'm often asking the universe, what does she want of me? I'm ready to do as required. And I know that whatever that is, I'm ready." Awesome. Love that guy so much. And lastly, Dalton, who's also now become one of our coaches, wrote us this really, I'm going to do my best not to cry, but I'm not making any promises. So Dalton wrote us, "I was going through an appreciation gratitude practice and had a past memory appear back into my life and would like to express my gratitude for you both. It's coming up on the 1 year point of the lowest point of my life. My business was falling apart. My girlfriend at the time had just left me, and I didn't know where I was heading in my life, and I was getting out of the army. This was the most broken I'd ever felt. My depression was taking control of my life. I was at my final point, ready to take my life. I remembered standing in the bathroom with a knife, bawling my eyes out and ready to call it quits. There was one thing that saved me, and it was you guys. I remember taking the 2.5 hour drive to Charlotte, and I listened to your training all the way up there. I got to my empty apartment, grabbed some food from the local grocery store, and laid on my blow-up mattress feeling sad, empty, and lifeless. After a total breakdown emotionally, I picked up my phone and continued listening to your training till almost 2 a.m. You saved my life, and I truly mean it. From that night, I began this beautiful journey of realizing it was time for a change. I could no longer live this way. Who knew that night would lead into this incredible relationship we now have that will continue to grow in the future? My life is absolutely beautiful, and I contribute that to you beautiful souls. Thank you for being there through my darkest moments. Thank you for showing me there was another way of life. Thank you for showing what true happiness is. And most importantly, thank you for saving my life. I love you both so much." So I almost did it. Yeah, Dalton, by the way, is 24 years old, and just one of the most amazing heart human beings you'll ever meet. And yeah, it took me like 4 times to read that before I could get through it.
Which is even more amazing that he's one of our coaches now.
Yeah, and this is all in a span of probably like a year. So all right, let me just kind of regain myself here. All right, so I shared with you guys these stories because these are people that are currently working with us. And what we're about to show you here today is the core foundation for how every one of the students and things that you just heard have been able to create this massive transformation in their lives. And so before we jump into the nuts and bolts of this particular training, We'd like to do something a bit unconventional. We went back and forth about this a bunch of times, but I wanted to just address the big pink webinar elephant in the room. I love that picture so much. I stuck that in there, I think, to get me to laugh after that last story. So it's all good. All right, look, chances are you guys have been on a webinar or two before, and you probably know by now that at some point, someone's going to offer you to buy something, right? Now, some of you probably showed up here because you've followed us for a while and you already know that you're ready to take your life to the next level. Others of you, not at all. So here's what I'd like to do with your permission. If you followed us for any amount of time, you know by now that Guy and I are absolutely horrible salespeople. And what we want to focus on here on the training is just to provide you amazing, incredible, life-changing, knock your socks off value, because that we are really, really good at. You see, our belief is that when we share what we love with you here today, there are going to be those of you who are ready, that want to have it all, and you'll want to continue down this path with us. We just know that to be true. So like I said, if you guys allow me, I'd love to just take 2 to 3 minutes and just kind of let you guys know right off the bat about the revolutionary technology we've put together that's getting people the kind of results that I just read. And that way, at any time during this presentation, if you find yourself ready to jump in, you'll know exactly what you'll be jumping into, how to do it, and a few other details. Does that sound fair to you guys? And that way we don't have to do this like big, reveal at the end, and instead you can just focus on what we're truly here to do, which is share this gift with you. Marilyn, we can absolutely talk about that, about the coaching aspect. It's something that we have. We have a program called the Ascension Program that we can talk to you about as well. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I want to focus on the information at hand. So let's just go through this. It'll take me like 2-3 minutes, and then we'll jump in. All right. So here's what we've carefully crafted that's transforming people's lives. It's called the 100-Day Manifestation Masterclass. It's a brand new advanced training program for people who are sick and tired of talking about their dreams and are finally ready to actually manifest their dreams. So once you've completed the 100-Day Masterclass, here's who you will be. You'll be someone who lives a life of purpose, passion, and fulfillment. You'll be able to clearly create and then manifest your deepest desires and dreams, even those ones that you kind of like let yourself forget about because you're like, there's no way that that's going to happen. You will know how to clearly define and manifest those as well. And finally, live the life you know you deserve. I'm talking epic relationships, health and vitality, and of course, a beautiful bank account that gives you freedom. Also, and this is one of our favorite parts, you'll be someone who can truly help those who you care about get their dreams too. So for someone like Marilyn, who is talking about being a coach, I know, and Guy knows, that when you go through this kind of journey, all you want to do is give, 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 give. So we will share with you that as well. So let's look at how this works, like the nuts and bolts and what this program is made up of. So there's really 2 components that this program is made up of. The first is a 7-part, step-by-step, intricate process that basically creates the foundation for manifestation. So this training is going to unlock what is already inside of you. Call it your God-given intuitive powers. You're going to release and reprogram decade-old programs that, like I said, maybe not broken, are just no longer serving you on where you want to go in life right now. And this is a systematic process that helps you remember who you truly are in the world, and you get to live from that place. So the price for the 100-Day Manifestation Masterclass is $3,000, okay? Now, in addition to that training, what we've decided to add is a bi-weekly live group coaching component. So this is where you basically get those tools, put them into practice, and then you come back and you work with coaches to, I guess as entrepreneurs know this, like sharpen your axe, right? What I would say is this helps you drive these distinctions farther and farther into your bones, so they kind of become part of who you are, not something that you think about like a robot. and have to put all this effort into. It's just a place that you start to live from. So the live coaching component, in addition to that, is $1,500, right? So that in itself is a total of $4,500. In addition to that, though, what we've done is we've added 3 additional bonus trainings that help you deepen to understand and expand your results. So the first thing you'll be getting is a free ticket for you and a partner, so like you and plus one, to any of our Have It All live events. So each live event ticket is $497. When you join the Manifestation Masterclass, if you decide to do that, what we'll do is we'll offer you and a friend, partner, sibling, or just a plus one, a free seat at any of our live events. So that's bonus number 1. Second, you're also going to get the video anthology from last year's Have It All event. You can view this immediately as soon as you become a member. And if you remember the story I shared about Laura was the one that had the huge breakthrough around relationships. Her breakthrough actually came from watching one of those trainings. So we sell that series alone for $497. You'll get instant access to that. And lastly, what we've added is our Mindfluence course, which is a foundational training curriculum, and that's designed to help you smash through walls that have been holding you back from living your dreams. So things that have just been holding you back from decades, will help you take you through that process to demolish those. And again, you'll get access to that immediately. Also, that's a $297 offer. And so the total on that is just shy of, let's say, $6,300. We'll just round it up a little bit. And what we wanted to do is obviously make this accessible to a lot of people. We knew that $6,000 is kind of out of reach for a bunch of people. So what we've done is we've bundled this up. So it's just 3 payments of $1,000. Okay. Now, if you're on this training, okay, and you're with us here tonight, what we're going to do is make you guys a special offer. Broski, what's the time frame? I know we decided. I wasn't sure the actual time frame.
We're going to do it for 36 hours, basically starting at midnight my time, so Pacific Standard.
Okay, so from Pacific Standard midnight, we are going to allow you guys, those that are serious action takers, and what we're going to do is we're going to knock the payments down to only 2. So you'll get the whole bundle, everything I just described, for just 2 payments instead of 3. Okay, so that's the offer here. Now, for those of you that are going to be on this, so that's it. So 2 payments, $1,000.
So here's what they need to know. On the right hand side of your
Yes.
screen, you see a little box now. There's a button there that says I'm ready to start my journey. So whenever you are ready, if at any point in time during this webinar you just click on that. It takes you right to a checkout page. That'll be accessible for you, like we said, for the next 36 hours. After that time, you can still join. However, it will be at the full price. Okay.
At the 3 payments.
At the 3 payments, yes.
Okay, cool. Two things that I think are quite important. So Guy gave you guys the links. So that's number 1. 2, the next live class. So we only do this roughly about once a month or so. The next live class, the intro to that class, is actually tomorrow. We have 5 seats still open for that class. Okay. So if this is something whether it's now, you already know you want to work with us, or during this training, you're like, wow, that's an amazing aha. How do I implement this? Keep in mind, there's 5 spots left for this next coming up training. So, that's it. And obviously we can get into it later, but everything that you ever buy from us has a 30-day money back guarantee. So if you go through the first 30 days, you go through the first 2 trainings, you go through the first 2 live group coaching calls, and at the end of it, you're like, you know what? This is not for me. Doesn't feel right. Whatever it is. I don't like, their voices. Doesn't matter. You get a full refund. No questions asked. We want to obviously blow your mind. So that's that. So anybody have any questions? Or Guy, was there anything else that you think I missed or needed to add?
No, I think you got everything. Guys, if you have any questions, I'll be in the chat box, so just ask them in there. And why don't you get started with the training?
Okay, cool. So pink elephant out of the way. Let's dive in. All right, so here's what I'd like to do. Guy kind of touched on this. What I'd love for you guys to do is just start and take an area. Pick one area that you'd love to have a massive shift in by the end of tonight. Here's what we found. If you listen to this kind of information in generalities, you'll love it. And just like other books or videos that you've watched, it will probably make no difference to you. If, however, you came here to play and you're bringing something of your life to this party, I can absolutely promise you that you will have a massive aha moment in that area by the time we're done here. Okay? So I hope you guys are up for playing. And here's what we're going to be covering. So like I said, we're going to cover the 5 pillars. So I'll just break them down real quick and then we'll dive into them. So the first pillar is the head versus heart. We're going to talk about how to reawaken your soul's true guidance system, your God-given guidance system. 2, we're going to redefine responsibility, how to create your own destiny and make accelerated progress. 3, how to fear less. We're going to redefine fear for you. 4, we're going to create a new unconventional way to take massive action without having to do more in your life. How good does that sound? It's called push versus pull. And 5, feedback loops. Not only how to maintain your transformation, but how to deepen and accelerate transformation in the future. Okay? So let's dive into number 1. So the first thing we want to do, obviously, in order to learn how to engineer our success, in order to master our ability to manifest, I think the first thing we need to start is by what is manifestation, right? Define it. So the way we define manifestation is the ability to say X and have X appear. Now, the faster this occurs, obviously, the better you are at manifesting. If someone were to say, I desire $10,000 a month income, and they're able to do that in a month, that's a pretty good manifester. If someone's like, I would desire $10,000 income, and they could do it in a week, even better. You want to move to a different location. You know, a lot of people just talk about moving to San Diego. And then there's people that say, I'm going to move to San Diego, and a month later they're on the beach, right? So it's that simple. It's turning the talking about or thinking about your dreams into reality. Okay. So if we want to learn how to create that acceleration of success, I think what we first have to look at is a little bit of science. So stick with me, guys, because we want to work from the inside out, right? It's really, really important to understand what's happening in the body. So when we think of our brain basically has one primary function. I'll split it up into 3 and then narrow it down to 1. So the brain works like this. It scans your environment and it's either looking for a threat or opportunity. Basically, is something trying to kill me, or is this something I can mate with? That's what it does. Then when the brain is receiving these signals, it then needs to decide what action to take. So there's 4 modalities. There's fight, flee, freeze, and one that's recently coming to light called faint, which we can talk a little bit about later. And then the last thing it does is it tries to figure out shortcuts and most effective ways to accomplish number 1 and number 2. So if we were to break this down into one really, really simple thing, we would say that the brain is designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that is keep you safe, keep life predictable. Even if boring, that's its job. So it's like this: keep you alive at all costs. Now, we've underlined all costs here because it's very, very important. Your brain will sacrifice happiness, it will sacrifice fulfillment, your health, all of it in order to just maintain your survival. And here's what we mean by that. The part of the brain that we're talking about that does this is scientifically it's called amygdala. Other people call it the reptilian brain. It's basically that voice, the monkey brain, whatever you want to call it, that most human beings don't even, they think it's part of them, right? They think it's them talking to themselves. So if you've ever just a quick thing, like just so we know who's on here, are you guys all familiar with that term, the voice, the monkey brain, the reptilian brain, animalistic brain, things like that? Are you guys aware of that? By the way, when I ask you guys questions, it gives me a great opportunity to drink some water. You guys with me?
I am waiting in the chat box. Yep.
Yeah.
It says yes.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, the brain's only program is truly just survival. And the thing that's really nuts is it's been programmed this way for 70,000 1,000 years. So when Homo sapiens were created and our DNA was all programmed, nothing has changed since that time. Now, you can imagine that the life back then to what it is today is very, very different, but the animalistic reptilian response to things is the same exact. So the brain hates surprises, it hates unpredictability, it hates change. And again, it doesn't care if you're happy or successful or fit. For it is like the devil you know is better than the one you don't, right? So if all you do is sit on a TV, on a couch, watching Netflix all day, eating potato chips, to the brain, it's like, that's awesome, right? Now, what it does, and we're going to get into this a little bit more, is it releases a stress hormone, a cocktail, I should say, of stress hormones, one of which is called cortisol. And if you've done any research on cortisol, you know that it's one of the most deadly things that can flow through your body. It creates sickness, it creates body aches, cancers, death, and it's basically the thing that is associated in our body with feeling fear. So just keep that in mind as we go through this, okay? All right. So this kind of leads to one really massive problem, and that is that most people, maybe not you guys, because you guys seem pretty smart, but most people, due to the loudness of this voice and the chemical reaction of cortisol, like we said, end up staying stuck, unhappy, angry, frustrated, unfulfilled as a result. And sadly, most people don't even know that this is happening inside of them. There's a great line in Usual Suspects. He says, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. And I feel like that's sometimes what this voice is. So how do you know if you're listening to the wrong voice? So let me just give you guys a couple examples. I'm sure you guys can relate to this. The first one is a corporate Joe, right? Stays in a comfortable job he hates. Why? Because it's safe and secure. It's what he knows. And it's what he's comfortable with. So this is a person who lives paycheck to paycheck and deep down goes to bed and wakes up miserable and massively unfulfilled, but will stay there no matter what. Or we know someone like this, I'm sure, in our lives, which is stuck in a relationship that's unfulfilling or even damaging or hurtful, and they cannot muster the will to get out. They get used to being miserable and they just can't imagine getting out of that situation. Or what about someone that wants to get into shape, right? People that go on yo-yo diets, they succeed for a month, they look great, then they jump back even worse. All these people, which I'm sure you either know or you may have even been one of these people at some times. The thing is this, so those are all people, right, listening to the reptilian voice. What I want to start pointing to is that every single one of us has another voice inside of us right now. And that voice has already proven itself to you to make much, much better decisions. So I want to walk you through an example here. I stuck this picture up here. You can think of any time in your life that you were extremely happy, like you made a choice and that choice led to extreme happiness. For me, marriage was just one of those things. And I find it fascinating that whenever you ask someone about how they met their partner, their soulmate, the stories always starts like, oh, it was so magical. It was so unbelievable. This happened or that happened. It was like so serendipitous and coincidences and all these crazy things had to happen, right, for you to meet that person. And what I offer is that I've never met a single person that when I ask them, they're like, all right, so here was my strategy. I did this and A plus B plus C, and then no, never. Right? Because like the greatest things in our lives, the greatest opportunities, the greatest partnerships, those scary ass moves where you move across the country or to a different country, those are the things that your heart guides you to, pulls you to. And I guarantee you, if any of you look back at your life, you'll probably notice that the greatest things in your life didn't come from the voice in your head. In fact, it came from when you shut down the voice and you started listening to your heart. And as crazy and illogical as that moment was, you just knew that that's exactly what you were meant to do. And my question to you is now, have you ever wondered why that following your heart creates that kind of happiness and fulfillment and amazing results in your life? And it's this. When you listen to your heart, you stop listening to the voice of safety and survival. And instead, you start listening to a voice that's inspirational, a voice that leads to new beginnings, new opportunities, hope. And then rather than cortisol and that stress cocktail, what your brain actually does is it sends little squirts of dopamine and serotonin that lead you to states of joy and ecstasy. It transforms you in the moment from being about survival to someone who gets excited about potential and reward. Chemically speaking, this is what's happening. So your heart's been inspiring you in the background your entire life. It literally is inside of you, the secret weapon to your happiness, love, and fulfillment. And I want you to write this down because this is really powerful. You might not understand this fully now. Just write it down and revisit this line because it's really, really powerful. Happiness is the cost you pay every time you let your brain make a decision. I'll say it again. Happiness or fulfillment or love or wealth, abundance, whatever you want to say, is the cost you pay every time you let your brain or that voice make a decision for you. Powerful. So let's just challenge you guys a bit here, okay? I want you to just start to feel and notice in your body which voice you tend to listen to, right? So let's just use this as an example because this is a great one, right? Like your voice, by the way, does not like this conversation at all, right? So your voice in your head might be saying stuff like, this is stupid. These guys have no idea what they're talking about. Get off this webinar. I got better things to do, right? And I want to offer you, like, no matter what's happening in your life, when that brain gets really loud, just ask yourself, are these things really true? Is the stuff that I'm hearing right now really, really true? Because here's the thing, that voice loves controlling you. And it loves controlling you because by it controlling you, it keeps you safe, right? It doesn't want to lose that control over you. It wants to be in control of every decision you make. So it hates being found out. And conversations like these really make it go nuts. So just be aware of, like, as we're going through this, what part of you are you listening to? Okay. Now the other one, so that's your head. The other one is your heart. Now the heart, just so you understand, is really, really subtle. All your heart wants is for you to remember who you truly are, like your true self. And the heart is someone that, or something I should say, that speaks in a whisper or a warm feeling or a vibration in your chest, or maybe you'll feel like a slight pull almost. And have you ever experienced something where you just know what you're hearing is truth because you feel it in your body and you don't need validation from anybody else? This is how your heart speaks because this is what's connected to your soul's true purpose and desire in life. Your heart wants nothing more, like I said, than for you to remember who you actually are, because it knows that when you do, everything that you've ever wanted for yourself in your life is available to you if you could just remember. And that's what it wants for you more than anything. So just to recap, the voice of your heart is responsible for growth. It's responsible for change and breakthrough. So if you want to engineer breakthroughs, the first thing we have to do is begin to listen to that voice in our hearts. Because by tuning into and trusting what people call intuition, Guy and I call flow, when you dial into that inner wisdom, you start to see opportunities where none existed before, where a situation can be so dismal, so dark. All of a sudden, when you tap into that flow of life, things start to become effortless. Things start to become magical. Okay? So just share with you guys a really quick case study. This is a guy that we worked with. He was an accountant. He came to us. He wanted help around business. He was miserable when he showed up. Not only was he miserable around work, it started seeping into his relationship. And in fact, he was on the verge of divorce when we had met. And one of the things that we noticed real quickly as we were taking him through the 5 pillars is, and this might resonate for a bunch of you people, is he kept comparing himself to other people. Right? He kept seeing people out there who he perceived had higher levels of success, better relationships, better health. And I don't know if you guys are aware that you do this as a human being. We all do this. It's, again, one of these tricks that our brain does. It's one of the worst things that you can do because it's creating fake stuff about people and then being impacted by that. So what we did with him is we started walking through these 5 pillars with him. And what he started to do is he started to upgrade different thought patterns and upgrade these different programs. And when he did that, it changed his perspective. And he started to realize, wow, he had all this talent inside of him. He had all this drive. He started to create a clear vision. And within 90 days, he launched a fully automated business online. And 90 days later, created $120,000 in additional income for himself and his family. Now, here's the thing. He came to us because he wanted help on his business. He didn't expect that it would be anything else. During the process, the reason he was able to generate $120,000 in 3 months is for all of these other aspects. During the same time, he slimmed down. He started exercising and meditating every single day. He saved his marriage. And he deepened a relationship with his kids that he didn't even know was broken. He's still the healthiest, happiest he's ever been. And at the end, Guy's going to give you guys a link. You can actually listen. His name is Sri. You can listen to his own testimonial where he walks you through this. But the point I want to make is this. When you open yourself up to allowing your heart to lead your life, you will have it all. Not just that thing that you want. And I saw in the comment box, a lot of you guys are like business and money and all that stuff, right? Like that breakthrough, as you'll see later, might not have to do with working on money. It might have to do with working on your relationship or a mom and dad thing or a sibling thing. You just don't know where all of it is tied in. So if there's a lesson in all of this, it's this: heart-centered intuition is the ultimate compass for your life. And again, don't just listen to us. Like, look at your own life experience for validation. Think of the greatest things that have happened in your life, and I guarantee you that you'll realize that they didn't come with your brain strategizing. In fact, most of the time when you listen to your brain, it completely flubs. It completely blows up in your face, and yet we keep going to this friend. I always say this, like, if you went to your friend for relationship advice, and your friend's like, you should do this, this, and this, and then you went out and you did that thing, and it completely blew up in your face, would you ever go back to that friend to get advice? No, never. And yet we do that with the voice inside our head all the time. It like sends us to this minefield, and this explodes and that explodes. We're like, well, tell me what to do next. It's nuts. Just crazy what to think of it. So, I'll just give you this real quick. So Guy and I have come to this point where we've so tuned in that now we understand a feeling in our body that when we listen and feel and look at something, what we're looking for is what we call a fuck yes. And as soon as there's a fuck yes in the body, the brain, I know, is always going to come. It's always going to jump in with all the why nots, and you can't afford this, you can't do time with this, you can't, well, they think, well, that. I get that. That's going to happen. I just listen for and trust that if it's a fuck yes in my system, that's where I should be heading. And everything else would take care of itself. And I guarantee you guys have all done the same, maybe unconsciously. What we want to do is, through this process, actually give you that as a conscious construct. Okay? So I'm going to give you the 2 glasses example, right? There's the glasses that you can wear when you listen to your voice in your head, right? These are glasses that distort your vision. Right? It just creates fear and lack in everything that you see, and therefore paralyzes you, because that perceived fear of the unknown, instead of opportunities, now all you see is imminent death. And lastly, and this is the worst part of all, it drowns out the voice in your head drowns out the voice in your heart. So you lose connection to that intuitive gift that is inside of you all the time. Now, the other option is, and this is what we're inviting you to do, is take those other ones off and put these on, is you get to see life through an empowering perspective. And when you do that, you actually quiet the mind. You start tapping into more of that intuitive power. And what you're going to start to see is that you're going to start to really enjoy life. You're going to start following your passions. You're going to get excited. You're going to create purpose, drive, fulfillment. You're going to find love. And instead of waiting around for all these circumstances to change in your life, which people just sit on the sidelines waiting for that magical someday moment, you're actively going to seek and transform them. And the best part is when you follow your heart, you do it all from fun, play, and ease. Now, the whole process is to make this as easy and simple as you breathing. And that's what we want to offer you, is that power. So that's pillar number one. And thank you guys, by the way, for being in the chat box and communicating. I wanted just to open this up. If you guys have any questions on anything that we've said so far, we'll take a moment here, answer any of those questions. And if you don't, we'll just keep going through the other pillars. And I'm going to take a drink.
By the way, bro, I have a feeling when I talk, if you don't have headphones in, it's going to probably echo. That's where it came from. So if you do have them, great. If not, no big deal.
I think it's when I talk and your mic is on, there was echo. But you guys let us know. Is there echoes?
Right now it's good because I have headphones in.
Okay.
So, cool. Yeah. And I'll let you know if there's anything in the box. So I'll stop you.
Okay.
That's going on. Okay.
All right. So just keep moving.
Yeah, I know. We're also like in a bit of a delay, so by the time it gets through and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, cool.
Just a little bit. Okay, so I'll let you know.
So this is on a little bit of a delay, yeah?
It's always got a little bit of a delay, sure.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right. Well, if there are any questions, drop them in. We can jump into them. So, okay, great. And thank you. My heart says goes for it. Yes, that's so good, Ingrid. So just notice that, like what Ingrid just did, that's brilliant, right? Our heart, and check this out. So what she said is, my heart says go for it. My head says be practical. Why? Just ask yourself why. Why? Because the voice in your head, practical means safe. When you listen to your heart and just tune in, like when I followed my heart, think of an example that you followed your heart. Didn't magic just kind of like pave the way? It was like the universe just went, oh, Ingrid really wants to take this on. And then the perfect person shows up in your life, money shows up in your bank account, all of these amazing things line up, and you just go, wow, how did that happen? And I'm telling you, it's all because you actually said yes and listened to the deeper, intuitive, soul-connected part of you to take that action, okay? So some of you guys might be thinking, okay, look, I've listened to my heart, and I still don't feel like things are working, because I can't figure out how to get momentum. And that's why we put in pillar number 2. And this is where we're going to redefine responsibility for you. So something you want to understand is that as a human and socially conditioning, we are programmed to maintain as status quo. Most human beings see change as completely and utterly frightening. So what we do is we do this like slow dance, we stay in our comfort zone, and then we create all of these justifications on why we're doing this, right? Like I'm being practical, I'm being smart, all of that, right? And again, this is just another, if you can think of your body as like a machine in a program, this is just what this program does. So why does it take us so long to really make any progress and change, even when we commit to it? And it comes down to this one simple word, and that is responsibility. Now, responsibility, I know, gets murdered and it's defined so many different ways. So we want to clearly define it for this purpose, okay? So first, let's look at what we don't mean. We don't mean it's a moral issue. You're not bad. You're not wrong. There's nothing to blame. We also don't mean that it's something that you need to be ashamed of or feel guilty about. Just so you guys understand, vibration of guilt and shame is the lowest frequency. In that frequency, you will manifest the worst things that you've ever wanted in your life. So if in any area of your life you're feeling shame and guilt, first, stop it. And second, realize that because of that frequency and energy, you will just keep manifesting trauma after drama, after pain, okay? So simply put, here's what we mean by responsibility. Responsibility is the willingness to be at the source of everything. That's it. So taking responsibility obviously requires action. And as some of you guys mentioned before, it requires courage, because what it means is there is no thing to point at to blame. This is truly like when we talk about badass manifestors, this is what we mean. This is what's required. It's not an easy thing to do. And it's the thing that actually gets the best results. Because blaming and shaming, whether yourself or others, is obviously far easier. Our human addiction is to being right, and it tends to overpower everything. So one of our first mentors had this amazing line. He said, you can be right or you can be rich. You can be right or you can be happy. You can be right or you can be in love. You cannot be both. Keep that in mind. So this is what happens in our lives. We have all these goals and that we fail to be courageous because it's just easier to blame outside circumstances, to blame people and be right about it. So I want to take a example here to really drive this home, right? And I want to look at something that everyone can relate to because everyone I've ever asked has been at least half a gram overweight, right? And here's what happens. People want to lose weight, and then what happens? We'll blame our genes, lack of time, money, our present condition. It's so hard for me to work out. I'm overweight. It's hard. Why? Because when we blame something else, it takes us off the hook for actually creating the result. Right? If we start something with an excuse already, you know what? Like, I'm going to go to the gym. It's just really hard for me to get to the gym. I don't really have time. You've already set a standard of like why you're not going to produce that result in the first place. Right? Like I said, we have a stronger desire to be right and play victim than actually be 100% responsible for and take the action. And by doing so, here's what happens. Our subconscious mind, because your desire to be right outweighs everything, your subconscious mind actually begins to create a reality that proves your rightness. So what I mean by that is you'll actually begin to paint your world, your body, your circumstances to prove yourself right. And here's the crazy part. It doesn't need to be true. As long as you believe it to be true, your reality will be created as such. You'll find every proof necessary to prove your story and your reality right. Nuts. So here's what we're going to offer you. You can start by looking at a question like, where could I be willing to be 100% responsible for the disempowering stories that are holding me back? Because until you come to a place of I am the sole author of my own life and circumstances, you will always be powerless and the results you will be pretty much the same. I'm just reading how Marilyn wrote. Sounds like Trump. Yes. Unfortunately, yes. So if we were to wrap this up, we would say that if you want to be a master manifester, you must accept 100% responsibility for every one of your choices. There's no real way around it. Because this is an example we say all the time. Like, if you're not in charge, who is? So if we got into the car and I was like, hey, Marilyn, drive the car. And you were like, well, I don't really want to drive the car. Why don't I do the pedals and you steer? Like, it doesn't work. And that's how we approach life. If you want to have it all in life, you have to be willing to be the driver of it all and be responsible for when you make a wrong turn, you took the car there. It wasn't the GPS or the map or your co-driver or anything. You chose to make that turn. You took it there. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong about that. It's like if your life is going down that path, you're the only one that has a choice to go back and go in a different direction and choose one that makes you happy. Because otherwise, you're just a passenger in your own life. And if you're happy with the results that you've been creating in your life at the moment, then by all means, like I said, keep doing what you're doing. But for someone who's seeking breakthroughs, who's seeking epic results, the only way to do that is to plant yourself firmly in the driver's seat. So look, blaming obviously gets us off the hook. The major issue for the kind of training that we do is that it actually stops you from learning your life's greatest lessons. See, when things don't go as you intend, and we as humans are not programmed to take responsibility, we're programmed to place the blame on someone, something, etc. When we do that, we stop the ability for us to see lessons. So if you got to a place where everything, and I truly mean everything, that is currently present and not present in your life, you manifested. You created your current relationships. You created your job. You created your finances. You created every situation of where you live, what you dress, what you eat, all of it, how you look. You created all of it, and for a very specific reason. So now I want to take a look and give you some tools on how to shift from blame to responsibility. Because to escape the blame game, the first thing you have to do is you got to focus on how this situation was created and what is it here to teach me. You see, it's your belief system, or like we say here, your programming, that's manifested every one of these situations. And for people that have the same situation manifest over and over and over again in your life, it's because you refuse to see the growth opportunities and lessons. See, rather than blaming, which just keeps you stuck in that infinite loop, if you make these simple tweaks, and I would write down these questions, these are super, super powerful. Okay. How did I create this? How can I grow from the circumstances? And what is this situation here to teach me? And if you'll notice, none of these questions start with why, because why puts us right back into victim mode. So that's step one. Really important to just get yourself in that place. And once you've gotten real with that in yourself, then now we look at transcending the situation. Okay. And this is step two. And this is where we start to tap into a creative aspect of our mind. So now we're looking at a different part of our brain. And what we can ask are questions like, well, what's currently missing that if I added it in would end up changing the result? What's something that I can operate differently in? And you just start taking stock. And inside of that stock, you're going to find one action and one belief system that you could be responsible for to upgrade or shift or whatever that will break the whole situation wide open. Now, the important thing, like I said in the beginning, is to take all the morality out of it. So you're not allowed to blame, you're not allowed to shame. And instead of looking for who is wrong or making yourself the victim, you just want to focus on shining the light on the situation of what really happened. And that's when you get to uncover your truth. And when you shift your focus again from blaming to now problem solving, you're again using a different part of your brain. It's almost like using a different app or a different program. And this program actually helps you create what you desire in life. This is like a golden magical ticket. If you shift from being someone who blames to someone who now lives and operates from a stance of masterful creation and responsibility. Because when you live from that place, you become what we call it at Satori Prime, at source. And this is what we mean by at source. At source is the place from where all circumstances in your life originate. It's a place of radical responsibility. Now, being at source means that you accept that you are the creator of everything that manifests in your life, all of it, everything that you judge as good, everything that you judge as bad, everything you judge as a lot of, everything you judge I don't have enough of, all of it. And when you stand at that place at source, that's where you start to recapture your power. Okay? So to put it elegantly and simply, responsibility is one's willingness to be at source. And here's basically how it plays out. Because when you operate at source, here's what's going to happen. You start taking responsibility for everything, all the good and bad. You start to replace blame with a rabid desire to seek growth opportunities. Because what you realize is every circumstance is here to teach me something. That leads you to create workability in your life, which simply means this. You now only take action on that which is in alignment with your soul's core values. So you're no longer run by fear. You're no longer run by scarcity or practicality or doubt. And in doing so, you free up so much time and mental space. Think about how much toxic thoughts and blame thoughts and right thoughts take up space in your mind. If I could just take a wand and give you freedom from that place, how much more creative would you be? How much more time would you have to spend to actually manifest and create? Like seriously, guys, if you got nothing else from this training, If you just did this one little tweak, your life would be completely different. You'd basically go from being reactive to proactive. And that's when you start getting results really, really fast. And the most important part of all of this is that you now have the power and choice for everything that is occurring in your life, because you've eliminated your ability to blame or blame and shame yourself or blame and shame others. Think about that. How big of a difference would this one simple shift make if you just stopped shaming and blaming yourself? Powerful. Okay. All right. That's pillar number 2. Questions?
Any questions?
Oh, people showed up late? The email went out late?
Yeah, the last 2 reminder emails we had were actually set to Eastern instead of Pacific. So I just was wondering about that, and then I looked, and so a bunch of people didn't get the reminder emails.
Got it.
Yeah, on me.
Okay. It happens. The perfect people are on here right now, and that's all that matters.
Very true.
All right, cool. So it looks like we're doing a good job today. All right. So if anybody has any questions, guys, feel free. Seriously, happy to answer them. We'll stop at every pillar. So if something comes later up to you, just write it down in here, and we'll come back to it. Okay. All right. So pillar number 3. Some people might be thinking, okay, well, to be at source, I kind of need to admit that I'm responsible for every decision and outcome in my life. And that could be a little scary, which you're right. It can be a little scary. And that's why we put in pillar number 3. And pillar number 3 is fearless confidence, not fearless, because that doesn't exist. We're going to talk about that. Okay. So here's what happens, right? You begin to understand this whole responsibility thing. You go out there, you're excited, you're motivated, you start taking responsibility for stuff, and you start having massive breakthroughs in all of these areas of your life, because now you're taking power back, right? And then you realize something inevitable. And that is that every breakthrough is first met with what? Put your thinking caps on. Right before you have a breakthrough, what are you met with?
So said another way, what's the thing that happens right usually before you have some kind of breakthrough, transformative thought, action, etc. in your life? No wrong answers here. Just so you're participating, just so you're getting your mind working.
No? All right. I'll let you guys know if I hook this up. Oh my God.
Oh, there we go.
Marilyn coming out the gate with the right answer. Brilliant. Marilyn, I think you're like the first person that's gotten it straight up.
So some of the other answers: resistance, doubt, pain, and I think those are all absolutely valid.
Great. Yeah. It's right. Like every breakthrough you ever go to, right before that, you're met with resistance, right? Because we all have heard, to see the light, you have to sometimes go through the dark. Now, in the dark is when what creeps in? That voice. I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm so scared. So here's something I want to let you guys know. It's inevitable, right? We've spoken about you as a machine. This is what your brain is programmed to do. The program is called fear. It's just part of who we are. But this is the part that people become crippled. They lose motivation. And in most cases, human beings just give up, right? They run the other way. So for now, all you need to understand is this. This is how the human machine operates. And I want you to say it with me. And it's perfect. Now, I get that you may not like it. You may not like that it screams, run, go away, do this, right? I get it. That's what it's programmed to do, right? To give you safety. However, we've already looked that safety is the root cause of unhappiness. So Every thought, every voice you hear in your head is screaming why you can't do this. We're going to label that as limiting beliefs. And I'll explain more about that in a second. But here's some awesome news before we do that. You will only ever be met by limiting beliefs when you are in expansion mode. In other words, when you're up to something big, important, making shifts, stepping out of your comfort zone, that's when these limiting beliefs and this resistance shows up. In other words, if you were sitting on a couch doing nothing, you wouldn't be met with any of these limiting beliefs, right? So what this means is that you're actually playing a big enough game. You should be much more concerned if you weren't meeting any resistance and weren't meeting any of these limiting beliefs, because that means you're not really up to anything in life, okay? So like I said, human beings are kind of like a computer. Now, a computer has an operating system. It manages everything on your computer or whether on your phone, etc. Now, there are constantly updates to your phone and to your computer, if you've noticed, right? Humans, though, rarely, if ever, get updates. And here's the problem to that. The vast majority of your programming, in other words, like 98% of your programming, was created by the time you were 5 or 6 years old. So just play this out for a second. That means that 99% of people, I'm exaggerating and saying 1% are actually playing the game of upgrading. 99% of us are living day to day with a programming of a 5-year-old. So to put that in perspective, that would be like running your current computer on Windows 95. It wouldn't be possible, right? And if you don't believe me, think of any habit that you've been trying to kick. Whether it's, I think it was Ingrid who works with women with sugar. Like, sugar isn't a bad habit, right? How hard is it for people to kick that? And the reason most people can't upgrade their habits or change their habits is because what they're dealing with is external. They're dealing with the habit. They're not dealing with the internal program that is actually causing them to have that habit. And that's what we want to take a look at right now. So what is a limiting belief? Essentially, like I said, it's any thought that is not supporting you and where you want to go in life at the moment. So any thought that is preventing your growth and expansion. So like I said, the guy sitting on the couch, none of this matters. So think for a second of a moment in your life where you felt like you grew or expanded your abilities. So anything that you just overcame recently. And the question is, were you met by a limiting belief prior to that growth? 100% you were. 100%. Now, whether you were conscious of it or not, that's a different story. But prior to an expanded ability, you will always be met by limiting belief. So the question now becomes this: how do we upgrade the fear programs and break through these limiting beliefs? So we're about to share with you one of the most powerful tools and distinctions in our arsenal. This is called the Age of Conversation. And just so you know, this is something that in the 100-Day Manifestation Masterclass, we spend probably, 4 or 5 hours going into this one distinction, okay? So fear is a natural human response. It's programmed in you when you're a child. And for a child, fear is like hiding under the blankets, right? When you're scared. The boogeyman, oh my God, I'm so scared. So unfortunately, regardless of your age today, that same 5, 6-year-old conversation around safety is what runs your day today. So every time you want to take a step out of that circle, every time you want to take a step into that unknown, whether it's a new business, a new relationship, this little child inside of you is freaking out. So something to know, again, science, like we love learning the science of the brain. They have found out that at birth, there are only 2 fear programs baked into every human being. One is falling, the other one is loud noises. Every other thing that you're afraid of, you programmed in when you were a child. So the first thing to get is, wow, when you have that fear response, you just actually stop and create awareness and go, oh, this is a really young conversation, okay? And then the next step is you actually think of when was the first time or a very early time that you remember having this fear, having this kind of conversation, right? So let me give you a quick example. say you are someone who you just find confrontation uncomfortable, you find it difficult to speak in front of people, and what happens is we create our lives to fit in and around these issues, these things that we sentence ourselves. So like we pick certain jobs, we live with certain people, we have certain friends, all to not push this certain button of ours, right? So in this particular example, like, let's say Joe's been living great life, etc. And recently he gets promoted at work. So now he's a manager. And what do managers have to do? They have to have tough conversations with employees, right? And every time he has to have a conversation with somebody, he feels helpless. He gets paralyzed. So the first thing to do is you realize that even though you're 40 or 50, okay, this is not a normal 40 or 50-year-old response, right? Like to have another conversation with a human being. So when was the first time I can think of this happening? And you'll go back and you'll go, oh man, wow. When I was a really young kid, every time I spoke back to my father, I would either get yelled at or worse, I would get hurt. And so guess what you did? You created all sorts of programs to avoid that. And now we fast forward 20, 30, 40 years later, and the same 5 or 6-year-old is running your life at every step of the way. These are judgments that when you were a child, you sentenced yourselves to simply to survive certain difficult or uncomfortable situation. The issue is that we forget that we do this. And when we don't evaluate stuff like this and we don't upgrade stuff like this, it will continue to run your life forever. If you have money issues, if you have issues around sex, if you have issues around relationships, if you have issues around addictions, it was all programmed at a very, very young age. And unless you go to the heart of the situation, it's going to keep repeating itself. So if anyone doesn't do this kind of work, you're basically still operating like a 6-year-old in your life. And that 6-year-old is terrified of everything because the world, as you can imagine, to a 6-year-old is pretty terrifying. So when you learn to break through your limiting beliefs and you actually start to fear less, here's what happens. You obviously become more confident. In fact, think of the last time you broke through one of your fears. You took on anything. Think of that time. How did you feel immediately after that? Oh, these water breaks are so good. How did you feel after you broke that fear? Did you feel alive? Did you feel amazing? Did you feel, some people even say like Superman-like, right? You probably started to see yourself as a whole new person right after that. And as soon as you made that shift, more importantly, you probably started to see the world in a very different way. It wasn't that you were different, it's now that everything around you is different. And possibilities that were not there just a second before will start showing themselves to you. And this is what happens. As you go through this process, time and time again, you actually start to hardwire these new upgrades into your operating system. And what that does is it starts to naturally align with who you are as the adult that you are today. And you start to align with your dreams and desires of today versus the fears and doubts of a 5 or 6-year-old. So yeah, people wrote vibrant, light, right? One of the things that I always ask people is like, it's a question that I ask every coaching client. I'm like, tell me about the last time you conquered a fear. Great. How did you feel? They answer. I'm like, tell me how you'd like to feel in life all the time. And their answers are very similar. Chris, like if I said, how would you want to feel every day in life? And you were like, I want to feel light or vibrant, right? This is the key. Look at these areas and what's stopping you and just start going through these systematically, and you will just start knowing yourself as a whole new, different human being. So here's the critical shift. And this is one of the most powerful distinctions and speaks to what I was just saying. So what you want to take a look at is how can I transform the program of fear to one of opportunity? You see, the moment when fear is no longer something that you run away from, like a boogeyman, that a 5 or 6-year-old would run away from. And instead you reprogram it and you see fear as a opportunity for growth, opportunity for change, opportunity for new potentials and abilities. It completely changes the script. In fact, people that have gone through a 100-day manifestation masterclass have told us that they feel like they've become fear hunters. Rather than victims that are running away from it, they literally run towards it. So just imagine for a second, you have so much self-confidence and power that you decide to run towards every fear in your life, because what you realize is the juiciest, most fulfilling life you want and have been dreaming about and talking about is just on the other side of that next fear. Does that make sense, guys? And if you guys have any questions, now would be a perfect time to answer those as well. Yes, Ingrid, there will be a replay. And thank you for being here and thank you for participating.
All right, bro, continue. And if there's any questions, I will let you know for sure.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next part is people are like, okay, I've worked hard before to change, and the change I've gotten is just small, right? It wasn't worth the effort, kind of like a New Year's resolution. So this is where we created pillar number 4. And this is, like I said, an unconventional way to take massive action without doing more. So I want to start off by sharing a story. This is a story about our friend Steve. And Steve was a self-help junkie. He read a ton of books. He watched endless videos. He even attended a bunch of personal development seminars. And one of Steve's ultimate goals in life was to feel healthy and fit again. When we met him, he had a 54-inch waist. He was 350 plus pounds. And it seemed that no matter how hard he pushed himself to achieve the goal of losing weight, he just kind of remained the same, right? He even described it like pushing a boulder up a steep hill. So one day in December, his daughter calls him, super excited. And she's like, Daddy, I'm getting married. So they set a date. It was August of the following year. So it was just this past August. And they started making plans. And could you guess, without even me telling you, what took place over the next 9 months? I'm sure you could. Unwanted pounds that he was carrying just seemed to melt away almost effortlessly, right? And this is what Steve looks like today. He's lost over 125 pounds. He's gone from a size 54 waist to a size 34 waist. And you know how I was saying before, like new opportunities arise that previously were not there? So this is actually really cool. He turned his transformation into a business. So he started a website called stuckinatruck.com, and he helps other truckers from all around the world find hope, find tools on how to get fit and healthy. That to me is just like such a cool definition of having it all, because the shift for him losing weight had nothing to do with weight. It had to do with his relationship with his daughter. The shift that he wanted around his finances and work had nothing to do with his finances and work. It had to do with his health. See, the thing is, we as humans like to compartmentalize things. I'm only going to work on this. I'm only going to work on that. But the thing is, like, when you say yes to life, and this is something that I work with my kids all the time, like when you say yes, life just shows up different than when you're a person that just sits on the sidelines, judging and assessing and waiting to go in and play the game. And that's what Steve did. He finally got on the court. So I want to just talk real quick about 2 different paradigms, the push paradigm and the pull paradigm. So the first one is the push paradigm. This, you may have heard, is the do, have, be. In other words, when I do X, I will have Y, and then I can be happy, right? So this, I want you to start to think of, is forcing an outcome. This is doing more, working harder, which leads to more, better, different results, but pretty much the same. So in Steve's situation, right, this was him trying different diets, giving up on things that he loved, which obviously to him felt like sacrificing. And he just naturally kept falling back to where he was at the beginning. So for any of you guys that feel like there's an area in your life that you might be working super hard at, and you keep producing kind of the same result over and over, almost like you're on a hamster wheel, this is where you're stuck. You're in a push paradigm, okay? The second one is the pull paradigm. So this is be, do, have. This says that when I be happy, I get to do X and I get to have Y. Flip the script, right? So we're called this, Wayne Dyer said this all the time, we are called human beings, not human doings. When you change your state of being, you just naturally start getting pulled to take inspired action that are now aligned and consistent with that state. I've asked this next question, to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. Have you ever been able to produce an amazing result in your life when you feel shitty, when you feel frustrated, when you feel angry, when you feel upset, when you feel resigned? No, it's impossible. I've not met one person who is able to produce anything worthwhile when they're in that state. The thing is, you only produce incredible results when you feel incredible, right? So in Steve's situation, his being became a being of incredible father, a role model. And that's what naturally pulled him, because it was no longer this sense of, oh, I'm giving this up or I'm sacrificing this. It was just this massive desire to be the best father that he could be. And that's the results he produced. So there's one other aspect that plays into this, and I want to share that with you. So I want to talk about gray hairs and cars. This happened to me recently. For those of you on here, whether it's happened or not, you can probably relate. But that day where you walk into the mirror and you find that first gray hair, and you're like, oh my God. And then what happens over the next few weeks? You find more gray hairs. So keep that in the back of your mind. Another example is a car. You might be car shopping. You go to the lot. You see this car. You really like it. You go home. You wake up the next morning. All of a sudden, that car is everywhere. Everywhere is that same exact car. Now, what's actually happening here? What's happening here is our awareness level is heightened when we put our focus on this. So with gray hairs, right? They've always been there. You didn't age 5 years, boom, overnight. It's just now you said to your brain, hey, brain, look for gray hairs. And what does the brain do? It looks for gray hairs. Same thing with the car. People in your neighborhood didn't all go to that same dealership and buy the same car overnight. They've always been there. You've just trained your brain to now focus on seeing that car. This, by the way, is how we train our brain to do everything. The issue is that this is unconsciously done most of the time. You're like, I don't like this. And guess what you see? A lot more of this, because the brain, it doesn't know whether you like it or not. It just, that's what you're focusing on. So this is really, really powerful tool to understand. The issue here, and something to just check in for yourself in your life, is what we focus on is what expands. And mostly what human beings focus on is that which we don't want in our lives, that which we are afraid of happening. And then we're constantly shocked. Oh my God, I can't believe this happened. I'm so worried. And then now it happened. And you wonder why. It's because your focus, your energy, your thought, all of it, your frequency is just so fearful of that. And there's so much focus and intention on it that you're manifesting it time and time again. So back to our buddy Steve, right? The reason he lost weight effortlessly this time was because he created a new vision. He focused on a new vision. When he started seeing himself, dancing with his daughter, looking super sleek in a tux, a thin tux, he actually had a hashtag, 36 skinny jeans was his hashtag as he was posting all this stuff, because that was his vision in his mind. And then what happens is his mind systematically pulled him towards all of these things. It didn't feel like work. It came effortlessly. So again, what's changed? First, Steve created urgency, right? It became an urgent matter. If there is no urgency in your life, you will not create any result, no matter what the area. So given that if there's an area in your life that seems to not be moving, what I would assert is that there's just not an urgent matter for you. It's not that you're broken or there's something wrong with you or you're stupid or not good enough or whatever. It's just that you don't have a vision or a future that's powerful enough that's pulling you forward towards that goal. Okay? Very important. And take note of that. Second is what you focus on expands, right? So previously what he focused on was his fat gut and how it wasn't going down. What is that going to create? More of the same. He changed his focus. He said yes to a future of dancing with his daughter at her wedding. And then saying yes, which is, by the way, one of the most powerful tools in the human experience, as soon as he said yes, the transformation already began. I don't know how many of you guys have had this experience, but like I can share a story with you guys at the end of this where one of our clients, it took him 30 days to say yes. He said yes. And literally 2 hours later, after paying, generated $5,000. And 3 days later, generated another $7,000 and paid for half of his course with us in a span of 4 hours before he ever got on our coaching call with us. It was absolutely amazing. All because he said yes. So cool. So most of us, like I said, follow the paradigm of doing more first. We always look for like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And that I want you to just associate right now with push, push, push. Do, have, be is a broken model. Stop it. Now, without being aware that being is the change that we want to make first. We want to shift the being first because that's what's going to pull you into action and deliver effortless results to you. Right? This is how you get maximum goodness with way, way, way less effort. Okay? So when you understand state change, everything changes. And something that Guy and I have been playing with recently, and we haven't even updated this, it's like, it's not so much state change as state awareness, right? Like when you become aware that your state is creating this, this is when the world becomes abundant. You see opportunities, you see possibilities everywhere. And what you start to do is you start to take action on those opportunities because you're just being called to it. And this is where results just become inevitable. Okay. So that's pillar number 4. Thank you guys for commenting. I'm glad that you guys are loving this. Anybody have any questions about anything that we've said here so far?
I absolutely love that Steve story. And what I love about that is we've known him for almost 4 years, just through one of these business networks that we've seen, and how many times I saw him talk about that and deal with that. And then I love that you see that in action about how something that creates urgency, just, it's like boom, results, right? So Elon talked about this before, but it's just so important to start creating for yourself. What people call manifestation is really just setting proper foundations that works on your machinery in a way that creates positive results, right? And the results that you guys want. So it's just like so beautiful, right? And by the way, you see this in weddings all the time. You see this with people going on vacation all the time. It's like the moment you say yes, you buy the ticket to that thing, you know, suddenly you're going to the gym more. Suddenly you're buying new clothes. Suddenly there's a little bit more abundance in your life. You're excited about things. You know, every time I've seen one of our friends get married, you know, both definitely the wife, the bride to be is like suddenly getting in amazing shape. You know, she wants to look her best in her wedding dress because that's how she's going to remember herself. And that's really, for many people, what's not at play. They're not creating things and putting things in their future that get them excited. And whatever it is that you put in your future, that's actually one of the social lies that we're kind of fed, or at least we're trained around. I don't know if it's a lie, but what we believe is that who we are currently right now in this present moment is a function of our past. And the truth is, if you guys investigate your life, you'll find out that who you are in the present moment is actually a function of the future that you're stepping into. That story about Steve is like the perfect example of that.
Yeah. And you know, you just brought up the women who like get married. What's interesting is predominantly those same women that got into awesome shape, as soon as the wedding stops and the urgency leaves, right? Like there is no future that they're living into that like, I need to look good. They just all revert back to. And then like they'll have a Bahamas beach vacation. They're like, okay, I gotta get fit again. It's just amazing how we do this thing. And it's why I said to you guys in the beginning, you know, guys and I moonshot goal of 100 million people's lives transformed by 2020. That's urgent to us. That's like we don't know how to solve that. There is no logical way that we can figure that out. It's sharing stuff like this that allows us to even have that conversation. So something to keep in mind. Create a big enough problem, you'll be lit. All right. So this is the final pillar. Yep. So this is part of the thing that I will say, this is probably one of the most critical pillars. We left it for last. It's one of those things that I think is missing from pretty much every video, every seminar, most coaches, most books, etc. And it's called the feedback loop. And it's about how to manifest change through a reference group or your peer group. So we spoke about manifestation, right? Is the ability to say X and have X appear. Now, I think we'll all agree that who we spend our time with has a huge impact on what you're able to manifest in your life. So just a quick down and dirty example, 2 smokers who want to quit, right? First smoker goes out and tries to quit smoking, tries the patch, gum, all these other smoking aids. The other one goes to their family, their friends, their coworkers, and tells every single one of them that they're quitting and asks for their support. Who do you think is going to be more successful, right? Easy. The influence of our tribe has a massive impact on who we get to be. So I want to take a look at this from just like a scientific perspective here, okay? When we're left to our own devices, when we're outside of the reach of our peer group, human beings have a remarkable ability, and that is to self-sabotage our success. To go back to weasel out of all of these things and magnetically, miraculously return to the most dominant image of who we think we are, kind of like our default mode or comfort mode, right? So if that's the human condition, here's the thing to notice. Your tribe has that same program. And a lot of the times when people have a transformational experience, you're down on this path, I can pretty much assert that you'll go back to your group sometimes, you'll have this amazing aha moment, and you'll share it with them, and it's not always met with support. And sometimes they'll make some side comments, or they'll take that, it almost feels like they're taking away your transformation, and that what happens is, or what happened to you wasn't real. Right? So I want you to just kind of like get this, right? So the human condition is to revert back to who you are, to our default mode. So when you come into your circle and you tell them like, oh my God, I had this amazing transformation, it makes them feel uncomfortable, right? So one of the things that we want to talk about is, and write this down, this amazing life lesson, they're not responding to you, right? If you just got that they're not doing this on purpose, they do this because your desire to change and grow makes them feel uncomfortable, right? When you share something amazing like that with someone, it actually highlights for them their gaps, and it forces them to look at their goals and dreams and things that they've given up. And it's like, well, if Marilyn goes and pursues these dreams, what does that say about me? And because they're made to feel uncomfortable, they're going to come at you with kind of these side remarks, right? So we've all heard this, like the 5 people that you spend the most time with, you're the average of those people. So given that our tribe is who we have around us, what we want to take a look now is how to actually create and maintain your transformation inside of your tribe without having to go and find a new family and friends. Because a lot of people, they go down this path and then it's like a wake of friends and family who they never discuss with. And for us, that's heartbreaking, because having it all means having spectacular relationships with your loved ones, not picking up and leaving if they don't agree with you, right? So this is what we want to talk about. How do you actually do that? Because when you do that, you can create a lot more transformation. You can create transformation with velocity. And there's a time and a place for like-minded groups, and we'll talk about that. First, I want to handle this because I feel like this is a huge missing in personal development. So I want you to imagine yourself as a circle, right? And the people that you spend the most time with are just like you. They're other circles. So you begin this transformational journey and you come back to your tribe and you're so excited. And you're like, hey, I'm a triangle. And this is what nobody tells you. Your friends, regardless of how you feel or think about yourself, still see you as a circle. So what did we just say earlier, right? Why do they want to keep you seeing you as a circle? Because seeing you as anything else makes them uncomfortable. And this is when they start exerting these subtle, kind of unconscious pressures on you to do what? To fall in line, to stay the same. Because what? They don't want to deal with themselves, right? Humans are just silly. Silly. So this for us is where work truly begins. Because imagine if you can alter the conversation of who you are in your existing circle, what a shift that would be in your life. The thing is, you've spent decades training your tribe to see you as a circle. And now you think you come back because you've gone through a 100-day manifestation masterclass and you're like, oh, see me as a triangle, and they give up decades worth of training? No, it's not how it works. Write this down. Your life is created in the listening of those around you. I'll say it again. Your life is created in the listening of those around you. Likewise, and vice versa, you create listening of others, which allow them to show up a certain way. Perfect example is Guy and I. Think about if Guy and I were standing on a street corner right now having the same conversation, people would think we're crazy, right? They wouldn't be like, oh my God, these guys are such geniuses. I want to spend a couple hours with them learning this stuff. No, they'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys, right? You guys are on here right now because over time, whether through our podcast or videos or articles or messaging, we've created a listening of us in your world that allows you to be open and willing to receive this information because you have a listening of us as people that can deliver that to you, right? So you'll only ever be as big and bold as your tribe listens to you as. Give you an example. Do you have a friend? Think of a friend, someone that you love, that when you're around them, you feel amazing. You feel limitless, right? You leave a 3-hour lunch with them and it felt like 5 minutes. You feel so good. Why? Because they listen to you that way. They allow you to show up as who you are, no judgment, and it makes you feel awesome. So in our 100-day masterclass, we actually walk our students through a step-by-step process on how to have these kind of life-altering conversations within your tribe to shift their listening. Because again, once your tribe sees you as a triangle that you say you are, you actually, for the first time, get to become that triangle. You get to be that new version that you've always dreamed about being. And that's when you begin to think and act according to that new triangle. And as soon as that happens, your world begins to show up completely differently. Without pillar number 5, your transformation, your growth, no matter how big or significant in your life, will not last. Truly. Until you understand how to do this. When you alter people's listening, it's really, really powerful. So, like I said, this is the secret to manifestation that I don't think you'll hear in videos or books or anything like that. And that is that you cannot maintain your own transformation. So the only way to do it is to actually create this feedback loop from your environment. That's how you maintain and also supercharge future transformations that are coming. So imagine, for example, like you want to be a successful entrepreneur, but everyone in your tribe are security-driven paycheck getters. That would be a pretty tough environment to step out of, right? Everyone there is programmed for security, for safety. And when you went out and wanted to be an entrepreneur, that challenges their old program. So what they want to do is bring you back. So there's a process that you can have where you can shift these conversations systematically, alter their listening, which allows you to become more and more powerful. So, like I said before, that one of the most powerful tools, the other one, which is kind of a shortcut, is obviously to join a tribe of like-minded individuals who are already playing that same game and are already going to view you as that triangle. Because It's actually really powerful to have both, because what happens is when you're around like-minded people who are action takers, you are naturally pulled through osmosis to be the same way. Our environment, huge impact on us, right? So if we're around motivated people, growth seekers, etc., we will become that. And when you get to feel that in one circle, it actually allows you to be that easier in other circles. And on the flip side of it, right, if you're around a really, really toxic group of people, it can really, really pull you down, right? So that's the feedback loop here. So I just want to kind of recap everything that we've covered as we're wrapping this up here in Maryland. Yes, fringe dwellers, woohoo! We're the fringe dwellers. So in this presentation, right, guys, we went over the 5 pillars of manifestation. So I just want to go through them again. First, use your heart, right? How to awaken that intuitive part of you. Number 2, we redefined responsibility. We took the morality out of it. This is how we get our power back. Number 3, how to fear less, right? How to shift fear into opportunity. And number 4, pull versus push, how to actually pull yourself towards goals and make it effortless. And number 5, which we just covered, is the feedback loop and how to create the listening for yourself in others. So just some things to think about as you're going through your day, week, month, etc. It's like, play with these pillars, right? And think like, how different would my life be if I actually adopted these mindsets and permanently put them into my being, right? How would it affect your career? How would it affect the money in your bank account? How much more abundance and wealth would you have? How much more fun would you have? What would your experience of your friends and family be? Just, right, like, you have to get what this means to you. This is what we want to offer you. We want to offer you a life where you truly can have it all. All right. So with that, I think that's a wrap. Yeah, we've gone through this. So again, just a recap of some of these things. So voice of your heart, right? This was the voice that's responsible for growth, change, and breakthroughs. If we want to engineer breakthroughs, we must learn to listen to this voice in our hearts. And by tuning into and trusting our intuition, we actually dial in this inner wisdom that we begin to see opportunities where they didn't exist before. We also covered how to immediately stop playing the blame game, dwelling on your problems, and instead how to take action. Quick action, I should say, and decimate them. And if you guys didn't get those questions and the 2-step process, maybe take a snapshot of the screen or something like that. That'd be great. Or bro, don't we have like a PDF of some of this stuff that we can forward to them?
Yes, we have 2 PDFs for you guys. You guys let me know if you want it. One is gonna just be like an infographic that outlines the 5 pillars, and the second one is actually going to cover what we cover in the 7 modules during the 100-day manifestation mastermind.
Cool. So we also covered one of our favorite distinctions with you guys here today, which was the age of the conversation, right? This is what we said is the root cause of all of your fears that you basically created when you were super young and now are just been carrying with you. And the opportunity to look at these conversations and upgrade these conversations, right? We also spoke about how scary the world would be to a 6-year-old. And then how important your environment is, for better or for worse. It's extremely influential, and how you have the power to alter the listening in that environment so that you can grow with velocity. So in wrapping, I just want to ask you guys a very, very simple question, and that is, did we keep our promise? So we're obviously always looking to improve and give you tremendous value, like I said. And I think at the beginning, we promised that this presentation would show you how to manifest your dream life instead of just talking about it, how to truly have it all. And I would love to hear from you guys, did we keep our promise?
And if you got like a prompt on your screen or you saw like a files download, don't be alarmed. That this software just lets us send those right to you. So they should be pretty much instantly available to you while they're writing that in the chat box. Cool. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate that.
What's up, brother? Cool.
Is it pronounced Leilani?
It's Leilani, yeah.
Leilani. That's really cool. It's like Leon and I were called Leland in college. It's almost like the same thing.
I'm sure she loves that account of things. Yeah.
Thank you, Mandy. All right, so a bunch of you guys are saying yes, which makes us feel really great, guys. Seriously, if there's anything that we can do to make this better and more effective, we are seriously all ears. Like I said, I mean, look, this is what we love to do. I feel like we excel at it, and it's really what we want to do and share this gift with the world. So with that being said, if this resonated with you, if you found that you had aha moments, I would truly urge you and hope that you join our manifestation masterclass. I tell people, like, your future self will thank you for it. Trust me. So again, we'll be starting the countdown, bro, at midnight Pacific Standard Time, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So that basically gives you guys 36 hours to jump on this opportunity. And the opportunity would be for 2 payments of 1,000 instead of 3 payments of 1,000, and you get that entire bundle that we spoke about in the beginning. And if you guys have any questions at this point, let's open it to some questions. I'll throw a slide on here. I know some people are like super detail oriented, and maybe you want to know more about the logistics and structure of the masterclass, or any other questions about anything that we covered tonight. We are happy to answer those as well.
Marilyn said she didn't get the download. Marilyn, let me push it to you one more time and see if it comes through. Should either just, if you're using Chrome, it'll probably just download to the bottom left, or you'll get like a prompt. You just have to hit OK on it, okay? So let me do the infographic first.
You see now, like here, it's like the full screen.
Yeah, it's very cool. Let me know if that worked, Marilyn. You should have gotten some kind of push or seen like a file download. If not, then we'll make sure to get it to you guys in an email or something like that. And the rest of you guys can chime in. Let me know if that worked. Cool. So, look, I'll just tell you guys this. So, we've been working with people for a long time. And one of the things I regularly see people struggling with is indecision. So we've been studying language and its effect on human beings for literally 15 years. And I want you guys to just, if you're one of these people who's indecisive, I just want to give you a little micro lesson here about language, because language has vibrational frequency and it literally creates your reality experience for you. So you guys know this because people who talk about being not well are usually the one, a lot, or complain a lot. Notice that stuff keeps showing up in their life, things to complain about, or they're not well all the time. Like they're physically actually creating that response. So when we look at the word decide, if you look at the suffix of it, it has the word side in it, CIDE. And side actually shares, okay, Marilyn, it's probably because your phone, if you're on desktop, it would download right away to you. So that's good to know for us, by the way. So I'll let our project manager know to throw that into the emails for you guys. So with that said, the word side, that suffix, shares its lineage with words like homicide, genocide, suicide, pesticide. So what side actually means in language is to kill off. So when we decide things in our life, it literally means to kill off possibility. It's like sentencing yourself or somebody else to some kind of end result. So like if I'm in a marriage and I decide my wife is bitchy, it's like I'm sentencing her to be like bitchy. And then everything she does, I see from that point of view as, like her kind of being bitchy, right? Same thing with ourselves. If you decide that you're no good, it's like sentencing yourself, like a prison of being no good. And then how does life show up, right? So here's what I want to tell you guys about this, that when people are making decisions like this, any decision, whether you make a decision to work with us moving forward or not, this is a game-changing thing for you to consider. People, when they have a decision, they usually have one of 3 places. Most people just know of 2. They think of either you're a no, I don't want to do this. And if you're in that position today with us, fantastic. We honor the fact that you're here and you came to join us on this webinar. If you're a yes, I saw a few of you guys jumped on board already. That's amazing. We're excited to work with you. We'll see you Thursday, basically. And then there's like the third group of you guys, which is like you're in the yes, but. And that yes, but is this indecision that I'm talking about. And this but, whatever you have afterwards, whether it's time, money, or something else, is the thing that most likely you've sentenced yourself to and is actually determining the quality of your life. So I want to give you an example for this, because years ago, we trained this woman, and we're working with her for a few weeks. And then I'm noticing that no matter what we talk about, that there's like a lack of action in her life. And she actually doesn't have a big social life. She doesn't go out. And I said, I don't want to use her name. I said, why aren't you going here? And it comes to pass that she was a bit overweight. And up until that moment, I never really realized that like women have this thing about like the thigh gap, right? And her, and her, I just didn't realize it, because of course, as you know, men, we look in the mirror, we see something really different than what women look at when they're looking in the mirror. And her thighs touched when she walked, right? And so she wasn't going out. Why? Because her thighs touched when she walked. She wasn't going on job interviews because her thighs touched when she walked. And all these different things. We're going through like, things that just bring joy to people, she wouldn't do. And I'm like, what is it all about? It ends up being about this thighs. And I said to her, wait a second. So you're telling me you don't do all this just because that? She goes, yeah. I said, so who's determining the direction of your life? You or your thighs? And she's like, my thighs. Right? So how often, by the way, is that where money and time come to play? And I believe that most people who say that, when they really want to do something, look, guys, if you don't want to do something, it's stupid to do it. It would just be dumb to go do it, obviously. If you do want to go do something, and then there's that but, and the genealogy of that but, you've been using that but for 20, 30 years, and it's always the reason you don't do something, you might want to investigate that a little bit more, especially with time and money, because these are these things that people use as knee-jerk reactions, which basically say, I want this, but hey, not now, don't bother me. And we know that if we say that, like, no one's going to really press back. It's like, what do you say to someone when they say, I don't have time or money, right? I want to show you that we talked about urgency on this webinar. The people who are stuck in inaction, who are stuck in indecision. And by the way, if you've ever tried to get over a fence, right, the worst place to be is on the fence. It's right up your ass. It hurts pretty bad. That's kind of what indecision is. It's a fear of going right, and it's going to be the wrong decision. It's fear of going left, and it's the wrong decision. So you just kind of like sit in the middle, and it's kind of this painful place to be. All right, yeah, analogy, but it kind of is the actual experience of it. So when we look at this and we start investigating it, we'll find that there is just a lack of urgency. So I'll give you an example. Like tomorrow, like if you want to do this, but those are the things that are in your way, I can tell you that countless experiences that we've experienced, so many people that we've coached, when they say yes, everything changes because the universe conspires around that yes to work for you. So I want to prove this to you in your own life experience about why it's all about urgency, and where people procrastinate is actually a lack of urgency. So if right now this is something you want to do, but like time and money is a thing, I want you to imagine that tomorrow you wake up and you tell me, hey, look, I have no time, I have no money. Tomorrow you wake up, you got to get to work, and the first thing you get into your car, turn the wheel, car won't turn on. Let's say the transmission's broken. I guarantee you're going to find both the time and money to go fix that car. If you have a child, small child, teenager, whatever, and you wake up tomorrow and they're sick with a medical emergency, you are going to find both the time and the money to take them to the hospital. I guarantee it. You're going to make it work. And all of you guys have experienced this before in your life. When you say yes to something, even the really scary shit, suddenly all this magical stuff starts happening in your life. And that's the power of a yes. So again, I just want to, this isn't a sales pitch. It's to offer you how to look at everything in your life in a way that's like, I haven't investigated what's going on. This has been something that's been stopping me for a long time. And is there some other way that I get to be, not something else that I have to do, right? We talked about that a lot in this webinar, that can empower me to get pulled towards a new future. Because what's predictable is that if you keep doing what you've done, you're going to keep getting what you've gotten. That's how it works. That's why people end up in like relationships that seem the same. They go to the next job and the boss is identical to the way that it was before, he or she was before, and they're pissing you off. And all this stuff that creates this seeming hamster wheel effect in life is all being sourced by these beliefs that go uninvestigated. And like Elon said, most of them are uninvestigated since you were really little. So it just becomes the way the world is. And you take it as truth. It's a lot like white noise, right? Like, you kind of hear white noise in the beginning, you make a decision, same thing. It's like you make a decision, you put on a pair of sunglasses. You guys know if you put on a pair of sunglasses that are shade for like a minute, suddenly that shade is just the way the world is. We are extremely adaptable creatures, like extremely. So like if I was like put you in the middle of I don't know, like a sewage plant or somewhere where it smelled like shit, it's going to smell like shit. However, eventually if you stand there long enough, you literally will stop smelling the shit. It just goes into the background. So all these things that don't work for people, we call this manifestation webinar. It's really like empower yourself so that you can start affecting life versus being at the effect of life. That's really what we're about. And everything that we teach here are ways for you to start understanding the mechanisms that are at play, because most people are opposing the mechanisms and they're trying to overcome them, or they're trying to become more powerful than them. And they think if one day I just become powerful enough, if I make enough money, I won't be afraid anymore. And that stuff is baked into the system. You can't outrun the mechanics of your system. So fear, frustration, confusion, worry, guess what? It's all baked in. Most people are in opposition of it. They're trying to figure out what to do to get rid of it. Notice how that doesn't actually do anything. Don't take my word for it. Investigate it in your own life. You tell me if doing more, better, or different has led to anything more than more, better, different, or the same results. So there's got to be something else at play here. And this is where we start looking at the deeper stuff, which is how do we operate from a state of being? How do we connect the mind and the body so that what you visualize up here, the subconscious part of yourself, which is really in the vibrational frequency inside your body, is a match for the visualizations. You can start vibrating in such a way that manifestation is effortless because your subconscious is in agreement with your conscious desires. And that's really what this company, this movement, the people we work with, that's what it's all about. And this is why people who are around us, when they share stories like Steve, like Kevin, like all the people that Elon provided testimonials from, are having these like magical experiences. Really, they're just starting to live in alignment. And that's what happens when you start living in alignment, is all this stuff comes online. So you guys got to look for yourself. And maybe one of the things that you look at is if this is something you really want to do, there's a breakthrough in creating urgency by saying yes to this, to see what happens when the universe conspires in your favor, right? This way or that way, guys. If this program is not for you, got it. If you need a refund, got it. At least give yourself the opportunity to play the game in a way that you haven't played it before, to see what happens. If in 30 days from now it doesn't manifest the way that you think that it should, just tell us. We'll hit you back, right? And that's what we want to provide for you guys, is fertile ground to start practicing operating from being. And I promise you, this 100-day journey is going to give you such a substantial upgrade in the way that you view yourself, you view your life, you view the important relationships in your life, you view your ability to manifest money, you view your ability to just act in the face of uncertainty or fear. Guaranteed that you will have massive breakthroughs in all those areas. Okay? So that's what we provide here. Cool, guys. That's it for me. There's one more thing. You talked about Shri, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
let me see if this works too, because again, like this is all new stuff for us. I'm going to open up a page, hopefully on your side. You guys let me know if it works. It's called satoriprime.com/stories. There's Shri's story on there, and it's just super, super powerful. So let me know if like just a page just popped up on your web browser. It should have. And if not, then you can go to satoriprime.com/stories. And there's Shri stories and a bunch of other testimonials. So you guys can see that, we're not two guys who just came up with this 6 months ago. We're like, oh, it'd be really great if we sold a program. Like, this is our life's work. We invest every single day in getting better at this and providing more value in the world. And that's what we're about. If you are on your phone or mobile device, I'm not sure if that would work. But again, satoriprime.com/stories. If that didn't work, as far as I could tell from my side, it says that it did redirect you guys. So we'll have to look into that if it's not working. Cool, guys. So I think we'll wrap it up there. For those who joined the program, super excited for you. Of course, if you want to watch the replay, you'll receive that fairly quickly here, definitely by tomorrow morning. And yeah, guys, look, we super appreciate your time and absolutely love and adore you. Hope you got a lot of value from being on this program with us today. I always enjoy seeing people having like aha insight moments and breakthrough. And if something really opened up for you today, we would absolutely love to get an email from you. Elon and I are super accessible. Leilani says she got the pop-up. Cool. Elon, ILAN at satoriprime.com or Guy at satoriprime.com. You can send it to support at satoriprime.com. All great ways. Let us know how we can serve you. That's what we're here for. Love you. Bro, anything else from you?
Thank you for your listening. Thank you for spending time with us, and go make a difference for yourself and other people's lives.
Cool. Yeah, and if the pop-up didn't work for you, again, satoriprime.com/stories. It's very possible that some people have like pop-up blockers and it just doesn't let it through. All right, my friends. Thank you. Enjoy your Wednesday evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.